Hi, this is Ms. Wright, and I am going to go over rhetorical devices using some examples from Great Expectations. The first example is Anadiplosis. Anadiplosis is a rhetorical repetition of the last word or words of one phrase or sentence at the beginning of the next. So if you had a sentence that ended with, and I love her, it would begin with, I love her on the next sentence. And it's something that is emphasizing that idea of love. Anaphora. Anaphora. Anaphora is the use of the same word or phrase at the beginning of several successive clauses, sentences, lines, or verses, usually for emphasis or rhetorical effect. She uttered the word with an eager look and with strong emphasis and with a weird smile that had a kind of bolt. So here with the and with is an example of anaphora. And it was the best of times, it was the worst of times is an example from Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, the opening lines of that book. Anastrophe. Anastrophe is what a lot of people call Yoda speak, also known as inversion, and it's putting the words backwards or in unusual word order, change in word order, and alteration of the normal word order. And it says, letter I see you writing R, assistance you will be needing. So instead of saying, I see you writing a letter, you will be needing assistance, Yoda would turn their sentences or the words inside out. Antithesis. Antithesis. An example of antithesis is, so new to him, she muttered, so old to me, so strange to him, so familiar to me, so melancholy to us, to both of us. Call Estella. The part of that is antithesis is the opposite, such as love and hate, good and evil, peace and war. It is a figure of speech showing direct opposite, a use of words or phrases that contrast with each other to create a balanced effect. I followed the candle down as I followed the candle up, and she stood in the place where we had found it. So when authors are deliberately juxtaposing ideas, putting opposite ideas or opposite words or opposite phrases in the same sentence, is called antithesis. Antithesis. Asyndeton. Asyndeton. Asyndeton is leaving out conjunctions, the omission of conjunctions in sentence construction in which they would usually be used. I was so humiliated, hurt, spurned, offended, angry, sorry. I cannot hit upon the smart that for the name for that smart. And normally you would have a conjunction here, right? And sorry, but there's not one there. And the example says they dove, splashed, floated, splashed, swam, snorted, and there's no conjunction in that also. Epanalepsis. Epanalepsis. Repeated figure of speech, a phrase or set of words repeated later on in a speech or text as a rhetorical device. Repetition after intervening words is probably the most easy way to remember it. Repetition after intervening words. And an example from the story, and the wooden gate of that lane stood open, and all the brewery beyond stood open. So you have stood open over here and some intervening words and stood open again. Mankind must put an end to war, or war will put an end to mankind, President Kennedy said. Epistrophe. Epistrophe, also known as euphoria, repetition of a word or phrase at the end of successive clauses or sentences for rhetorical effect. Her chest had dropped so that she stooped, and her voice had dropped so that she spoke low, and with a dead lull upon her altogether, as she had an appearance of having dropped. So you have dropped at the end of this clause, dropped at the end of this clause, dropped at the end of this clause, and this is an example of epistrophe. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil would be a familiar example of epistrophe. Polysyndeton. Polysyndeton, everybody's favorite. Repetition of conjunctions, the use of multiple conjunctions or coordinate clauses to close in close succession, as the bad news caused him to weep and cry and wail. So you have the and here also. An example from chapter 8 in the book. The brewery buildings had a little lane of communication with it, and the wooden gates of that lane stood open, and all the brewery beyond stood open, away to the high enclosing wall, and all was empty and disused. So you have and, and, all series of conjunctions in that sentence. We lived and laughed and loved and left is another example. Okay, so we have, it says 9 terms, but it's really 8. And you can go over this as often as you need to. Look for them as you're reading and even try writing examples of them. Okay? Please like this video and make sure you have subscribed, and I will see you very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.